Okay, fourth grade. Ready for another chapter of Hank. This is actually the last chapter, chapter 12. The title of the chapter is The Exciting Conclusion. You might remember that we're in the middle of a battle and Hank thought he was going to die. So, what happens next? St. Peter's horn had an odd kind of sound. Instead of saying toot toot, as you might expect, it said balloom, and it made a fire that lit up the sky, and something went whistling over our heads. Well, shucks, that wasn't St. Peter at all. It was High Loper, and he was standing on the back porch blasting away with his pump shotgun. Scraunch had just fitted my throat around his jaws and was fixin' to remove it when the artillery opened up. He threw up his head in the air. "Scraunch, hurry," said one of the other coyotes. "Kill dog fast." Scraunch was going for the throat again. A quick kill when the second load of shot arrived. Loper had found his range, and he distributed a full load of number 7 birdshot about evenly through the crowd. You never heard such yippin' and squallin'. Them coyotes were jumpin' around like crickets in a shoebox, knockin' each other down, tryin' to get out of there. All but Scraunch. He backed away real slow. "Another time, Hunk, we meet again." "Yeah, and so's your old man." That was the best I could do on the spur of the moment, with a sore throat. I picked myself up and limped around. I had some nicks and cuts, but nothing was busted. I come through the fight in pretty good shape, all things considered. Loper came running up the hill, slipping shells into his shotgun. He hadn't taken the time to put on his jeans, God bless him, which probably saved my life. All he had on was a pair of brown and white striped boxer shorts, his cowboy boots, and a t-shirt with 3 holes in it, and also some windmill grease. Legs looked awfully pale and skinny sticking up out of them boxer shorts. "Dang coyotes!" he yelled, and then he looked at me. And this next part is kind of shocking, so prepare yourself. He looked at me. It still gets me a little choked up even today. He smiled. That's right, he smiled at me. Hank the cowdog, I mean. I was just, by George, overwhelmed by it. In my whole career, I couldn't remember Loper ever smiling at me. "Hank," he cried, "you've come back." He laid down his gun and came over and throwed his arms around me and gave me a big hug. "By golly, it's good to have you." I licked him on the face. He drew back and wrinkled his nose. "Dog, you stink. Where have you been?" "Aged mutton is where I've been." About then Sally Mae came up the hill, tying the strings on her housecoat and pushing the hair out of her eyes, which were red and puffy. "What is it? What's wrong?" "Coyotes, Hun. A whole pack of them. I bet they were trying to get into the chicken house, but old Hank suddenly appeared. Good dog, Hank, good dog. And he and Drover." Where's Drover?" Yes, that was a good question. I'd kind of forgotten about him in all the excitement, and then Sally Mae gave a cry. "Oh, no! I think he's not moving. He's just lying there." I've already mentioned that in this security business you can't afford to let emotions get the best of you. I mean, it's a tough business, and you have to be prepared for the worst. I considered myself pretty muchly hard-boiled, but when I saw little Drover stretched out over there on the ground, it really ripped me. I mean, the little guy had done his best to protect the ranch. He'd stood his ground under combat conditions. But now, we all went over to him. He didn't move a muscle, not even a hair, and it was pretty clear to me that he was, well, dead. A big tear came out of my eye and rolled down my nose. I had to turn away. I couldn't stand to look anymore. Loper bent down, and there was a long silence. "His heart's beating. He's still alive." "Oh, thank goodness," said Sally Mae. "Actually, I can't see anything wrong with him. He's got a nick on his nose, and one ear's been chewed on, but other than that he looks all right. Oh, let's take him to the house. I'll make him a nice little bed and try to get some warm milk down him." Loper gathered him up in his arms, and they started down the hill. I just happened to be looking at Drover when, all at once, one eye popped open. He glanced around and then closed it again. The little runt was half steppin', is what he was doing, and he wasn't about to miss out on that soft bed and warm milk. Well, all right, maybe he fainted or something in the heat of battle. Sounds like something he would do, but I could see that he wasn't feelin' no pain. It took him 2 whole days to get over his craving for warm milk and a soft bed, and he probably could have strung it out another day or two, only he peed on the carpet and got throwed out. I was down by the corrals when he came paddling up. "Hi, Hank, what's going on?" I was working on another case and didn't really want to be disturbed. "Hello, half-stepper. What's going on is that some of us have work to do for a living, so that others of us can attend to the milk drinking." He shrugged and gave me a silly grin. "I'm feeling much better now, thanks." "Yeah, I'll bet." "What you working on?" I glanced over both shoulders before I answered. "There's something funny going on around here, Drover. Look at these tracks." I pointed to the tracks, but he didn't look. "Tracks are down in the dirt, son. That's where you find most tracks, on the ground." "Hank, tell me something. Did you really join up with the coyotes? I mean, did you really think you could live with them?" I walked a short distance away, and for a minute I didn't answer. "Drover, if I tell you something, will you swear to keep it a secret?" He bopped his head up and down. "No, I mean you've got to swear an oath." He raised his right paw. "I swear an oath. Hank, my lips are sealed." "Well, okay, I guess I can trust you. You know what undercover work is?" "Well, sort of." "Well, that's what I was doing. See, we weren't getting anywhere with the chicken house murder, and I figured the only way we could crack the case was for me to infiltrate the coyote tribe. It was risky. I knew there was a good chance I would never come back alive, but it had to be done." "No fooling." "That's right, and it had to be top secret. I mean, I couldn't even let you in on it. If them coyotes had ever suspected a thing, it would have been curtains for this old dog." "Wow, weren't you scared?" "Nah. Well, okay, maybe a little. Actually, the toughest problem was keeping the women away." "The women?" "Right, Drover. You won't believe this, but they was actually fighting over me. I mean, it got a little embarrassing after a while. Why, one evening, these 2 beautiful women— well, I'll tell you about it some other time. Right now, we've got a case to crack. Look at these tracks. What do you make of them?" Drover squinted at the tracks. "Well, they were made by an animal, and I'd say the animal walked right past here and left these tracks in the dirt." "So far, so good. Keep going." He shook his head. "That's all I got, Hank. I'm stumped." "Okay, well, listen and learn. Them's badger tracks. While he was busy fighting off the whole coyote nation, a badger slipped into the ranch, and I've got an idea that he is still around." "You mean if we follow them tracks, we'll find him?" "That's right." "Uh-oh. Badgers are pretty tough." "Yes, that's true, but duty's duty. If we start letting badgers in here, before you know it, they'll try to take over the place. Come on, Drover, we've got work to do." He gulped. "Do badgers have big claws, Hank?" "You leave the claws to me. I'll go in the first wave, and then you jump him from behind. And dang you, if you run off and leave me again, well, I don't know what I'll do, but you won't like it." "Okay, Hank, I'll be right behind you." I put my nose to the ground and started following the trail. It led around the saddle shed and through the garden. Reading the signs, I saw where Mr. Badger had stopped in the garden and dug up a couple of worms, or bugs. I continued east, following the trail through the gate, past the gas tanks, up the hill, and right to the yard fence. "This is worse than I thought, Drover. He's in the yard. That doesn't leave us much choice. This could get nasty. Could be a fight to the death." "Whose death?" "Well, in this business, you never know. You just have to give it your best for the ranch. Come on, let's move out." We hopped over the fence. I got down on my stalking position and picked up the trail again. The scent was getting stronger now. It was real strong. Badgers must have musk glands, you know. Badgers have musk glands, you know, and they leave a heavy scent. Suddenly I saw him, hiding in a bunch of flowers. I froze. Drover ran into me. "This is it," I whispered. "Good luck." I crept forward 2 more steps and then went into my attack position and sprang. Suddenly, suspended in the air over the flower bed, I got a good look at the enemy. It suddenly occurred to me that badgers aren't black with 2 white stripes running down the middle of their backs. They don't have a small head with beady little eyes or a long bushy tail. It was a skunk. I had been duped. I tried to change course midair, but it was too late, and out of the corner of my eye I saw Drover jump the yard fence, and head for the machine shed. What followed next was entirely predictable. Okay, and this is the last picture of the chapter. Let's see, not a very good pose there. You might suspect where this is going to go. Here we go. Can't quite get everybody in there, but what followed next was entirely predictable. I landed right in the middle of the scoundrel. He fired. The air turned yellow and poisonous. My eyes began to water, and I gasped for breath. Sallie Mae's south window happened to be opened. Was that my fault? I mean, I had gone through the house that morning. Had I gone through the house that morning, opening all of the windows? Of course not. But on this ranch, rule number 1 is, when in doubt, blame Hank. I ran for my life and rounded the corner of the house just as Sallie Mae came boiling out the back door. She was armed with a broom and took a swat at me as I flew past. My eyes were stinging so badly that well, you've got to understand that I could hardly see, and I was having trouble catching my breath. The back porch door was open, and you might say that I ran into the utility room, where Sallie Mae had just taken a basket of clean clothes out of the washing machine. Was it my fault that she happened to be washing clothes that day? "Get out of my house, you stinking dog!" Well, as I have said before, every dog in this world isn't cut out for security work. It requires a keen mind, a thick skin, and a peculiar devotion to duty. I mean, you put in 16, 18-hour days, and you're on call day and night. Your life is on the line every time you go out on patrol. You're doing jobs that nobody else wants to do because of the danger, etc. You make the world a little safer, a little better. You take your satisfaction where you can get it, in knowing that you're doing the right job, doing the job right. The very people you're protecting won't understand. They'll blame you when things go wrong. But that's the price of greatness, isn't it? And if you were born a cow dog, it's all a part of the day's work. And that's the end of our book. So, I hope you have enjoyed Hank, and I hope you get the opportunity to read some more of the Hank books. We have quite a few in our library. So, until next time, have a good weekend.